So what you're describing is very relatable to me. Both of us are smart enough and connected enough and have a lot of opportunities at our disposal. And in a way, all those things are, if they're not harnessed, actually end up being liabilities
Mm.
because we have so many thoughts. We love our thoughts. We love the way our mind works. And we love our lives and we have so many things we want to do, but there is a lack of structure. And something I've been talking with Nikolai a lot about is my resistance to structure, my resistance to planning, my resistance to making commitments. And that um, um, is something I've made a lot of progress on during my work and my work with him in particular and all this. So, the way I see it, this kind of question that we ask with Gurdjieff, where he says anything could happen to you. If you're a certain kind of person, a relatively underdeveloped person, anything could happen to you. And that's not a good place to be. If anything could happen to you, you're by definition insecure. You're by definition dependent and conditional and driven by conditions, and anything could happen to you. And that's not a good feeling for anything to potentially happen to me. Now, many people's first instinct is like, well, anything could happen to anyone. But that's actually not true. You see, everything is probabilistic, and certain things are more likely to happen to certain people than other people. So, yeah, anything could happen to anyone, but that's not really the world that we live in. We live in a world where different things are more and less likely to happen to different people. Starting to think that way, I personally, uh, become like attracted to the notion of engineering
Mm.
outcomes in my own life. And as I start to become better and better at that means going from having an external locus of control where anything can just happen to me to having an internal locus of control where I'm engineering things in my own life. Two,
Kaveh, you there?
yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you left an external locus of control.
Right. So if I'm in a position where anything could happen to me, I have an external locus of control, and that's not a good feeling. To be specific, I'll say there's having an external locus of control and being fulfilled, where there's no tension. Then you have having an external locus of control where you're unfulfilled. There's tension. That's what makes you want to move to having an internal locus of control, which is what we're calling engineering our own outcomes in life to a to a greater degree. And then when that goes from being fulfilled to unfulfilled, the next move is to become the person who's engineering the outcomes in the lives of others. That's when you become an external locus of control for others. So first you go from having an external locus of control to having an internal locus of control to being an external locus of control.
Mm.
And eventually Gurdjieff became an external locus of control. He became the person who was engineering things in the lives of others and
Mm. Mm.
helping them learn to engineer things in their own lives. And with respect to your personal story about today, I think, like you said, you were off to a great start, prayer, deep meditation, and then some things happened where um, a word that comes to mind is contempt. There's like a kind of contempt that arose in you with respect to the uninspiring speaker, and we can map out what else happened. You described another thing, which was like you sat down to get some work done, and there were just like so many things that you could do, and you hadn't really made a plan for what to do, that you were just spread out all over the place. And it's just physics. When there's concentration, when there's convergence, when there's focus, you can literally punch a hole through reality. But when things are dissipated and lacking structure, then there are forces stronger than us
Mm.
when we're in that state that will then just blow us left and right.
Mm. Yeah, totally. And um so then there's then and this is like why uh, historically there have been moments where I've been in almost like a similar kind of very similar day with also no kind of structure
Hmm.
and have been able to
Yes.
feel assured in the thing that I pick out to do. And also
Yes.
just to give you a visual, I have my bring my backpack everywhere and I take out like different notebooks, different books, and so the visual is also very scattered, right? And it leaves a lot of, oh, there's the computer here, I could do this. And there's been times historically where I have been able to sort of lock in on one thing.
Sure.
And the thing for me is being able to lock in on one thing and feel like it is productive in
Hmm.
some sense. And so that's why like this I have this fiction book that I read at night before bed, and if I were to read it during the day, I would probably have this thought, oh, I should be reading something maybe nonfiction that's a little bit more cerebral. And and so the historical evidence of, oh, well, there's been times where I have been able to kind of, randomly like lock in on something and feel productive doing it. Um, has then made me kind of think, oh, it's just
Yes.
a chance thing, and maybe
Yes.
it'll come again. And it's why I haven't looked at the locuses of control and tried to, um,
That's right.
yeah,
That's right. You and I have had the good fortune of having enough success and enough of these good days. You can also describe them as flow states, where we enter a flow state and we feel good, we're productive, without necessarily having to engineer them. And we may even hold in mind some kind of a suspicion that engineering them will actually diminish their frequency, that there's something artificial or synthetic or pretentious or exploitative or greedy, okay,
mm,
unnatural when we try to impose structure on something that is, you know, uh, capricious by
mm.
nature. Is that something that resonates with you as a kind of resistance to structure? Like it has to come naturally and organically, or else it's not legitimate?
Yeah, I think yeah, it does, and I don't know if it's about it being legitimate so much so far as it's or it won't be enjoyable or
Mm,
something.
hmm. Hmm.
Because I'm still upset. Because that's the other thing is like I still naturally fall into that paradigm of, am I having a good time? Am I
Yeah.
feeling good? You know?
Yeah. And that's important. Obviously, we do want to be enjoying our moments, right? Um, I personally want to enjoy both the journey and the destination, right?
Yeah, precisely.
The um the means and the ends, right? So I don't want either one to have to justify the other. I don't want the means to have to justify the ends, or for the ends to have to justify the means. I want each of them to be able to stand on their own terms.
Mm,
You see, and so I think you're absolutely right. It's just the evidence right now, the facts, as you present them to me, as you're reporting them, bear out that there is room for improvement with respect to how often you're feeling good, and there's just a percentage question of percentage of how many of your days you feel stoked, how many of your hours you feel stoked, how many of your 15-minute increments you feel stoked in. And
mm,
one of the things we talked about earlier was keeping a log. I know Shai brought this up to you, and then we sort of fleshed it out a little bit more with respect to what's actually happening right now, what's happening
mm,
physically, what's happening emotionally, what's happening mentally, financially, socially, and morally in this moment, or in this 15-minute stretch, or in this 1 hour stretch. And
mm.
that, even if you haven't been doing it physically, it sounds like you've been sensitized to
Yeah.
that kind of inventory or accounting process. and you have found it lacking to some degree. There's room for
Mm,
improvement with respect to how frequently and how consistently you're really happy to be alive, frankly,
mm,
right? And I
mm.
can say that because I feel the same way.
Yeah, totally. No, that's exactly what it is. And I think another dimension to it is this like contrast between um like enjoying curiosity and enjoying reading and enjoying painting, and then contrasted with, well, um I need to get a job, and what is it that I actually want to do, because I feel uh I'm that's another thing. It's like I'm yearning to find something that really orients my life in
Mm,
some uh way. Like, I am looking for sort of structure in that way of like, what can I really want to be pursuing something meaningful. And when I don't, when I'm a bit listless, and I'm like, "Huh, I don't know what that is yet," that brings
right.
anxiety to me
That's
as
very
well.
powerful. Did you happen to get a look at least the 2 or 3 minute clip of the school intro that I sent you?
um I did. I looked at the art one, and now I'm forgetting some of the can you remind me what?
Yeah. Well, so this is a 4 hour thing. I still haven't watched the whole thing myself, but it's basically a kind of reality check on how literally any interest can be turned into a living. That there are niches that have yet to be developed. There's a guy who runs a school called Anime Shreds, because this guy happens to be very interested in fitness and anime. And so
Mm,
he turned into Anime Shreds, and so he has like these digital PDF scrolls that like in sort of anime role playing game format are these like secret scrolls that you can get access to, and blah blah blah. And there's guys making tens of thousands of dollars teaching people how to be pooper scoopers. So there's like a poop scooping school. So like
mm,
there's literally, and so they highlight some of these. There's like crochet schools, obviously. There's like spirituality and crypto and painting, and so it's just this a very one of the best uses of computation and the internet and social media that you can possibly imagine in terms of a win-win-win-win-win, where
mm,
someone is discovering their passions, sharing it with others, helping others discover their passion, making a living while doing it. Boom, boom, boom. Where there's just no losers. There's like minimal overhead because it's digital, and then you're spending your days doing something you love with other people who love the same kind of thing and think about things in the same way that you do. And it's like, God, I mean, I would spend my whole life doing that.
for sure.
And now I plan to. So that is what comes to mind for me, because it's like you and I know the kinds of things that activate us and arouse us, and there's this question of whether we can make a living on it, or whether it's dignified enough, or whatever. And so that leaves us feeling like neurotic and frazzled and fragmented, because we haven't found a place where our various uh, competing interests can coexist.
Mm. Yeah, wow, that's it's so true. Neurotic, frazzled and fragmented. That's like, what a great description. I'm writing that down. Yeah, I'm gonna one of the things uh I've started making headway on is coaching tennis. And
Great.
yeah, I've meeting with this Riviera Country
Of
Club.
course.
Yeah, they're looking for an assistant coach, and so
Oh
I'm
my
meeting
God.
with one of the guys on Tuesday. I'm gonna go hit with him, and so that could be kind of that could be cool. Um, so yeah, I totally relate to that feeling of like, fuck, how, the clash between our interests and the things that light us up, and then
Right. But there doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a conflict, actually. And I think so much of the point of life, when you ask about Gurdjieff, when we talk about the carriage and the horse and the driver and the deputy, the question can be resolved of how can all these things fit together. And that's really, as far as I can tell, what the definition of integrity ends up looking like.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And it feels good, right? Integrity feels good. One of the worst things that we've done to ourselves in our vernacular is to make some of the best things like self-control, sacrifice, integrity, and the divine, turn them into pejoratives and things that
Feel laborious or something.
yeah, exactly, that feel pretentious and exactly like torture.
Totally. Yeah, no, and that's what, and I think that that's exactly like that Gurdjieff state is like when those things start to become um, unconsciously competent.
Hmm.
Uh, that's like mastery, and um, for sure.
You know, do you mind if I publish this conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. Not at all. Please.
I can send you the transcript and we can look it over and make sure there's nothing problematic from the point I started recording that we wouldn't want to make public. But I think it would be really good for both of us and for the audience to get a taste of both of our thinking. And we can also do another one where I don't have Sadie rocking out in the back, in the back seat.
It adds to the
It sure
vibe. No,
does. It does.
absolutely.
Yeah, I love you, Sadie. Okay, sounds good,
Yeah,
Julie. And we should also hit.
let's do it, dude. I need to get back out. Let's do it.
All right, let's make it happen. We'll do it for sure.
All right, Kaveh. Much love, brother.
Much love, my man. Great talking. Hi,
Talk
Sadie.
to you later,
See
brother.
you, Julie. Bye.
See ya.